going on YouTube? Today I'm gonna be giving you 5 XP methods, the top 5 best XP methods in my opinion for the Elder Scrolls Online. The reason I wanted to make this list is a lot of times you'll see XP videos that are like, here's the best method, but it will require a whole bunch of things that you just don't have. Like currently myself, I don't have friends, so I can't do a group method if I'm alone. Or you might not have the DLC, or you may not, you may be at a lower level. There's so many different things to consider when picking an XP method for you, and as we get towards the double XP events, it is imperative that you guys grind an XP method that works for you, which is why I'm giving you guys 5 methods to choose from. And I've snuck into one of your houses to remind you to like the videos and subscribe. And if you comment and subscribe, you'll be entered into the giveaway where I give away 2 free ESO Plus memberships at the end of every month. So if you'd like to be entered, comment and or subscribe, or both. Welcome to do both. But let's jump into the first method. Welcome everyone to round 2 inside of the Black Rose Prison, inside of the Murkmire DLC, or as better known, one of the best XP methods in all of the Elder Scrolls Online. Now, admittedly, this is a much more difficult one, and it is one that I would recommend doing with a partner. Now, let's talk about this method while you watch me suffer through this live. This is a method that is generally done in pairs, either with one carry or, with 2 partners who are both trying to XP farm high levels, as there is tons of mobs that you will be able to benefit from killing. But you're also able to use a lot of sigils here to also help, utilize and maintain your resource pool. And because I said the second round, we are actually just going to be farming the second round on repeat. So it is also 100% A-OK if you die, because that's actually going to be a lot of what happens. You can see, though, that we are stacking XP very consistently throughout this run, even without anything additional like an XP potion or the ladder. I will say there are a couple methods that make this significantly easier if you are doing this solo, and that is going to be a ranged interrupt. You can see that I'm currently using that on my X slot right now, and that's how I am managing with all of these archers, because if you do let these archers stack up with you, they will kill you pretty consistently. And this Dread Knight right here is actually the key to let us know that the round is now over and we are good to die. He will be the last mob that spawns, so once he comes, we know that we are able to die, resetting the round and going on with our day. Now, another quick tip too is that there is a respec or resurrection sigil right here. So if you are doing this with a partner, you are able to resurrect them using this and then have them pop back into conflict without having to waste their soul gem. Another quick tip too that I've also noticed is sometimes Isabel likes to be a juggernaut and not die. In those situations, you can unsummon her. Next up, we have the Alakir Desert, and this is probably my #1 suggested place when people ask me, where should I go to get XP? Why is that? And that is because it's simplistic, it's easy, you can turn your brain off, it's consistent XP, it's a decent money maker, and overall, no DLCs required. You get free friends included because you're surrounded by a whole bunch of people. And if you've ever come to the Alakir Desert and you've wondered why people type LFDG, well, that's because they're farming this. So now the mystery for those who've ever wandered into the desert and wondered to myself, why in the world do people type LFDG? I myself was guilty of this. I had not a clue for the longest time. This is why they're doing so. This method does benefit to some degree from XP gear. Let's talk a little bit about where it does and doesn't apply. So XP that comes from kills will benefit from XP gear. XP gear being the experience trait on your actual gear itself. Now, when you actually kill the anchor and you get a chunk of XP and you get a event completion, that will not count towards that experience bar. So having training gear is not going to benefit you then. And that's going to actually be the big chunk of XP that you're getting. So if you're like, man, should I invest in training gear? Well, if you plan to run the Alakir Desert and it's going to be a big investment for you, it might honestly be better to just utilize your scrolls instead and purchase things like, 50% XP pots from the market. That might be a better use of your money. And as a question too that people commonly ask, how do I get to the Alakir Desert? What's the easiest way to get here? And the rotation usually looks like this about 99% of the time. So you just hop on down to the Way Shrine, and if you're ever curious on which one they're on, there will be an X over here over the world event once it's started, and I'll show you that once the event starts here. But if you're ever like, man, how can I get to the Alakir Desert easily? The answer is actually you just look in your guild. So you're always able to go in, check your guild, see who's in a specific area, sort by location, and bam, you can see that I'm in the Alakir Desert, and you can see them in the Alakir Desert here. And you're able to go and see if you can find someone that way. You can always ask too if you're online. I'm always willing to taxi people around, as unfortunately the Alakir Desert is not a way shrine that a brand new character has. But that's what makes this method so easy, is if you are in a brand new character, it is just straight up XP. It's easy, it doesn't require a whole lot of thinking, and it's not going to stress you out if you die too soon or make you feel like a numpty. So that's why overall the Alakir Desert is a great place to go for experience. And as an added side bonus, all the jewelry that you get from doing the missions and doing the actual chests here at the end, I would personally deconstruct either to level up your jewelry, or if you have a max level jewelry crafter, to try to get a lot of those very rare grains that you can get, and then make some good profit that way as well. The next method I have for you guys is another base game one that you guys are able to do at any point. However, it will greatly depend on the level of the characters that you have and how many characters you have. And that is because we are going to be talking about your daily random dungeon and your daily random battleground. So overall, I think a lot of people do these, but they only do them on one character. And why is that? A little bit unfortunate, and that is because you're able to get these premium supplies once per day, but that's per character, which means that you could go on any character at any point once per day and get these done. Now, a lot of people, I think, definitely avoid these activities on low levels, but they're a great way to get huge chunks of XP, and there's some great benefits to go along with them. One for the Elo system inside of Battlegrounds. What is the Elo system? And that is skill-based matchmaking. Now, ESO basically starts every character off on level footing. They're not going to queue you as often and as frequently against someone who's played and won 50 Battlegrounds on their 10 to 50 character or their CP leveled character, which means it's easier to go in on characters who you're not as confident on, or if they're low level, because you're less likely to be in those hardened games. But all you have to do is win or come second to receive the total premium battleground supplies. And in regards to doing your random daily dungeon, not only can you do it on normal difficulty and receive the exact same rewards as doing it on veteran, but if you're on a low-level character, you're only going to be able to queue for relatively easy dungeons, as if you're below level 35, pretty much every dungeon that you do complete is going to be one that's going to take 20 minutes or less. And with ESO scaling, you're pretty much going to be able to complete any dungeon on normal that you would be able to queue for relatively easily, even if everyone that goes in there is level, 15 to 30. So please don't be intimidated to do these on as many characters as you want. This is another method that does not benefit from XP training gear. It does not require any DLCs. So feel free to do this on any character, and you don't have to go in and take that training gear. As a quick side note though, the actual mobs and bosses that you kill would benefit from the training gear, but this big 100 to 1000 XP chunk is going to be unaffected. It will be affected by XP scrolls and double XP, such as the one starting on October 11th, or the Witches event coming later this month, but will not be affected by that XP gear, which is nice because then you don't have to wear these janky, raggedy-ass setups when you go into a normal dungeon or if you were to go into normal battlegrounds. Up next, we have one of the more interesting entries, and that's because we're in a delve, but we are actually in Cyrodiil. You can see that I had to do a fair bit of running to get all the way down here because we are all the way down inside of the Blood Main Cave. Now, for those of you who are unaware, they've actually buffed the amount of XP that you gain from Cyrodiil, and that includes all sources, which, also includes killing these assassin beetles, spriggans, and other such entities. Now, that's why this is such a good method for XP grinding. And overall, this is just a really cool place to be, and it's base game, so you don't have to be, here with, people who have DLCs, friends who don't have DLCs. You can also do this, obviously, with friends. However, they do have to be the same alliance, or it probably will be significantly easier if they're in the same alliance. And you'll also be getting a whole bunch of beetle scuttle too, which will be really nice for you guys to be able to make gold. Beetle scuttle is one of the more renowned ingredients in the game, and there's 3 big chambers that you can go through. You can pull all the ads here, and then in the tunnel. Now, this is just overall a really cool method to be, and the chests and stuff in this area also drop PvP sets. So if you do find chests in here, which you will find overall throughout your times in this delve, you're able to get some really cool PvP gear as well. But do not devalue the amount of beetle scuttle and all of the profits that can be made with beetle scuttle, as there's a lot of cool recipes and other such re-ingredients that require it, and overall it is a really awesome thing to use. But again, this is a PvP area. It does take a little bit to get down to, and unfortunately this is a solo or non-solo instance, which means that anyone could come in here at any time and thwack me, which would be unfortunate. However, this is such a niche method. Hey, we found a chest. Such a niche method that a lot of people haven't been suggesting. What is the Heartland? The painting? Good question. We'll let future Jacob figure that out. It's such a niche method these days, but overall, it's one of the best gold methods, too, to farm beetle scuttle. There's actually people who farm nothing but script jelly or beetle scuttle. So, overall, if you wanted to make some quick cash, quick XP, come here with friends, same alliance. Obviously, there's only one true alliance, the Daggerfall Covenant, so bring on down the old true believers. And as an added tip for you guys, because this gets asked a lot, it's obviously a pain in the ass to get here, so let's make it easy when we leave. And the easiest way to leave Cyrodiil is to queue for the Imperial City, queue for whichever one you want, and as soon as the queue pops, you will be able to leave. It also works vice versa as well. So if you were inside the Imperial City with your tens of thousands of Telvar, and you're like, man, I am over this, can you get my ass out of here? You want to call on the chopper, you queue for the opposite thing, and you are able to leave, because it's really nice to be able to take that Telvar out of there. But overall, too, it's nice when you're in the middle of the dead lands, of no nearby keeps that we own, and you don't want to waste those precious keep recall stones, and you just want to go home and see your wife and kids from deployment. This is the easiest and fastest way to do that. So that's how you can leave easily. Now, obviously, that method is going to be significantly easier if you're on an Aldari Dominion character. However, I played Skyrim, fuck the Thalmor, we believe in the Daggerfall Covenant around here, but still a great method. Just make sure you're using the proper alliance when you guys head on into that campaign. As an honorable mention, we are at Spellscar inside of Craglorn. Now, why is this an honorable mention? And that is actually because somebody else is actually here running it right now, which is why it has one of the bigger drawbacks, unfortunately, versus other methods that we've talked about. And that's XP is not going to be shared equally, and it's not going to be shared well, unfortunately. And there could be as many as dozens of people here trying to farm this, versus other methods which are instance-based or are so niche that people aren't generally doing, which makes it unfortunate. And even like the Alakir Desert, like we talked about, you're still going to get tons of XP for completing the actual event, and your participation in that is pretty much all but guaranteed, whereas unfortunately in Spellscar it is not. However, it is still a very utilized and popular method inside of the Elder Scrolls Online, and it is important to note. That's why I've made it an honorable mention here for you guys, but there's a dime a dozen of these spots in the overworld that get overfarmed. But as a quick note also, if you were wondering, the Heartland is actually a lead that gives you a furnishing painting. So hopefully that answers that question, because I was also like, what in the world did I just get? But it is a painting that we picked up from our previous method. And finally, in no particular order for this top 5 list, we have Skyreach Catacombs. Now, let's talk a little bit about Skyreach, because Skyreach is an XP method that's so good people pay for it. Should you pay for an XP method? My answer is generally always no. However, if you don't have any DLCs and you feel pretty confident in your ability to pull ads and run ads, this is definitely a great resource for you to go to, because it is instance-based, which means that we are inside a solo area, which we could take friends with us with. and we are able to farm it as a group or solo individual. I will whip out Isabel here, and I will attempt to run this the best I can. Now, I have put on a little bit of beefier gear. I've actually usually wear the Harpooner's kilt. I've actually switched that with the Gaze of Sithis. Ring of the Pale Order also works, however, you are going to get slapped around to no end. You're also able to wear training gear, and another interesting point that I've heard is that if you are a new player and you're being carried by an experienced player, you don't even have to be alive to get the XP, which means that you can pretty safely wear that training trait without having to worry about, being a competent, participant in the actual activity itself. But overall, I think Skyreach is really great. It is a bit antiquated. I don't feel like a lot of people highlight how antiquated it is, because overall, unfortunately, it just pales in comparison to those newer XP methods that, have surpassed it. But as an overall XP method, it is still and does remain one of the greatest methods for you guys to do. And as you can see here, I've pulled a bunch of mobs, but you're able to go in as long and as far. You can clear out rooms more slow, more quicker. It is 100% up to you and how you want to do it. I actually have Isabel here. She's actually more of a hindrance than anything else because she's a tank, so she's going to take one of the mobs, to who knows where. But that's the nice thing about this method that I don't think it's highlighted enough. And that's that you can pretty much do it at your own pace. If you only want to run, a couple rooms together, or, you don't want to pull as many mobs as, one person who's running it is, there's really no wrong way to do it. You don't want to try to pull those menders, though, but, potato for that, I guess. But overall, again, you can do this kind of however you want, as long as, you're comfortable with doing it. And it's one of the better methods if you don't have any of the DLCs, and it's definitely one of the OG methods that people have run, since the test, since the beginning of the game to farm XP. Really became popular again, around the time when they did the champion point rework. So a super popular method, and you're able to reset this instance once you leave the instance. You're able to reset that. And as a rule of thumb, I try to always, pull these mobs up until I get to around a stairwell, and that's when I try to do as many AoEs as I can. And generally having a mythical or something, or maybe a set that gives you just a little bit of bulk, can be a little helpful when running these instances. It is unfortunate too that I'm using my PvE character as a pet sword, because that's not ideal for these types of XP farms, because the pets will kite their own bosses. Isabel's kiting her own boss, but she gets her XP, so she makes it work. And if you guys would be interested, I think what I'm going to put in the comments below in the pinned comment is actual dedicated Skyreach farms, just so that you can see it from someone who's a little bit better and more experienced in this type of XP farming, and not someone who's humdinging it. Because I am 100% Team Black Rose Prison, but I want to make sure that you guys who generally, may not have, access to places like the Black Rose Prison are also getting, that XP and information that you guys would need to succeed, because that's what the channel is all about, is me empowering you guys to have the information so that you guys can take it forward and, live long and prosper. So that's the key, and that's the reason that I want you guys to be able to do that. Also, you don't have to run all the way out. You can click leave instance, so please keep that in mind too, because I did not know that for the longest time, and it was a huge time waster for me, was having to go in and out. I actually ran all the way back to the door. But some final points that I wanted to talk with you guys overall, just in general, is that please don't feel like you need to farm experience. There are tons and hundreds of experience levels in the Elder Scrolls Online, and it just is not worth taking away from all the experience. There are some well-written quests. There's some amazingly written scenic areas and quest points and things to do. Please don't feel like you have to rush, experience or all these different things. You as the individual player are empowered to play how you want. Nobody's rushing to get you into these trials or getting you into these specific things. It's not a rush, because if you rush to the end, you're not going to enjoy the journey on the way, which sounds like a very dumb proverb that an old person would tell me as I'm walking, to a 7-Eleven or something. So I feel bad for saying it, but it's true. I know a lot of people who play ESO and they get stressed out immediately because they're like, I need to be 3,000 CP right now. I need to have trial gear. I need to have perfected gear. I need to gold it out. I need to do this and this and this. And at the end of the day, you don't have to do any of that. Some of the richest people I know, some of the highest level people I know, they don't even run trials. They don't even do PvE. They don't even do PvP. They play how they want, and that's the key. Always feel like you can play ESO how you want to play ESO. Nobody should be forcing you or telling you or holding you at gunpoint that you need to get to 1500 CP and farm all these specific sets because you're going into a trial this Friday, so your level 10 ass needs to be 1500 by the weekend. Hopefully that's not happening to you. If it is, please call the police. But jokes aside, I hope this video was helpful. I really do thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you guys tomorrow. Bye, guys.
You better remember to like and subscribe to Jake Clips. Or you should. I might have to pluck your eyes if you don't. Or, better yet, I'll skip rope with your entrails. Do it now. Subscribe. Ta-ta. Off with you.